When you start moving towards something real in your life, when your days start shifting from empty to intentional, when your focus sharpens and your inner fire rises, there's something you must understand early on. The people around you don't need to know everything. In fact, the more you keep to yourself, the more power you hold. Not everything needs to be shared, explained, or validated. Because the second you start announcing your plans, your dreams, your goals, you invite noise, opinions, doubts, expectations. And that noise, it can kill your focus before your results even have a chance to speak. The truth is, the ones who rise highest in life aren't the ones who talk the most. They're the ones who do. The ones who stay silent in the shadows while they build, while they sacrifice, while they transform. Because they've learned a secret most people never will. Attention is a trap, and approval is a drug. The more you seek it, the weaker you become. But when you stop needing it, when you train yourself to be satisfied with the private victories, the invisible progress, the silent milestones, that's when you become dangerous. That's when you develop real control, real freedom, real strength. Success is not about being seen. It's about being solid. It's about waking up every morning and doing the work, whether anyone notices or not. It's about falling in love with consistency and getting addicted to discipline. Not applause, not validation, not recognition, because what you're building is bigger than all that. It's deeper. It's rooted in something unshakable. That's why you don't need to post it. You don't need to explain it. You don't need to defend it. You just keep showing up and letting the results tell the story when they're ready. That kind of discipline, the kind that doesn't crave attention, is rare. Most people don't have it. They want quick respect, fast credit, instant applause. But all that chasing burns out the soul. It pulls your energy away from the one thing that matters most. Your own development, your growth, your craft, your calling. When your energy gets scattered chasing people's approval, you leave nothing behind to fuel your purpose. And then you wonder why things don't move forward, why the fire fades, why your progress stalls. Because the fire was never built for them. It was built for you. And if you keep feeding it with likes, comments, claps, and praise, it becomes weak, fragile, dependent. But if you feed it with silence, with solitude, with honest effort, with quiet commitment, now you're building something real. Now you're becoming someone who doesn't just talk about change, but lives it. Someone who doesn't need to explain their work, because their work explains them. There's something powerful about a person who can walk into a room and carry a quiet confidence. Not loud, not boastful, just present, just certain. You can feel it in how they move, how they speak, how they listen. You can see it in their eyes. They've got nothing to prove, because they already proved it to themselves. And that's what this journey is about. Proving it to yourself, not to your friends, not to your family, not to strangers on the internet, to you. You were not born to be noise. You were born to be substance, to be meaning. And meaning doesn't come from trying to impress others. It comes from doing the work no one sees. The kind of work that strengthens your mind, sharpens your discipline, and deepens your belief. That's what gives you real leverage in life. Quiet belief, backed by relentless action. When your belief in yourself becomes stronger than the doubts of others, you become unstoppable. Most people are too busy trying to be seen, instead of trying to be prepared. But being seen too early is dangerous. If you get attention before you've built the foundation, you crumble under the weight. You can't carry what you haven't earned. And you haven't earned it until you've endured it. Until you've struggled in silence, failed in silence, gotten back up in silence. Until you've built the internal structure to hold the external success. Otherwise, it all falls apart. That's why silence is sacred. It gives you space to grow roots. And without roots, you'll never last. You might rise fast, but you'll fall faster. So take your time in the dark. Let yourself become solid there. Let yourself be shaped by the grind, not the spotlight. Because when you come out the other side, when you finally do speak, your voice will carry weight. Not because it was loud, but because it came from depth, from experience, from truth. Discipline grows in the dark. Focus sharpens in the quiet. Confidence forms in the solitude. These are the hidden seasons that most people try to skip. They want to arrive before they've traveled. They want to speak before they've listened. They want to shine before they've suffered. But real greatness doesn't work that way. It demands that you earn it in private before you can express it in public. So keep your dreams close. Guard them like treasure. Not because you're afraid, but because you respect them. Because you're not willing to expose them to the noise of the world before they're ready. This isn't about hiding. It's about protecting. About preserving the energy you need to build something meaningful. Because once the energy leaks into trying to convince others, you've already lost half your strength. The truth is, you don't owe anyone an explanation. Not for your goals, not for your habits, not for your lifestyle. You're not here to meet expectations. You're here to rise above them, to create your own standard. And that kind of elevation doesn't come through noise. It comes through mastery. Quiet, steady mastery. Every morning you wake up early and push through resistance. That's your proof. Every time you choose growth over comfort. That's your proof. Every time you say no to distraction and yes to purpose. That's your proof. You don't need to talk about it. You just need to keep stacking those moments, brick by brick, until one day you look up and realize you built it. You really built it. And they'll ask, when did you do all this? And you'll smile, because you know you did it while they weren't looking. While they were talking, you were building. While they were waiting, you were moving. While they were showing off, you were showing up. That's what separates the few from the many, the builders from the talkers, the committed from the curious. You don't need a stage to validate your effort. You don't need applause to prove your worth. The reward is in who you become, in how you think, in what you learn about yourself along the way. This is your journey, your path, your responsibility. No one else needs to understand it. No one else needs to approve it, because you're not doing this for them. You're doing this to become the kind of person who doesn't need to talk about success, because they live it. You have to train your mind to let go of the need for permission. You don't need it. You already have everything inside you to begin. Every tool, every spark, every reason. But the world will keep trying to distract you with its noise. The noise of comparison. The noise of judgment. The noise of doubt. And if you let it in, you'll start moving for the wrong reasons. You'll start chasing instead of creating. Reacting instead of leading. So don't react. Create. Don't chase. Build. Don't speak. Act. Let your life speak so loudly that your voice becomes unnecessary. Let your work become the message. Let your presence carry the power. Because when you've done the real work, you don't need to explain who you are. They'll feel it. They'll know it. Not because you told them, but because you showed them. That's the power of silence. That's the strength of restraint. That's the reward of discipline. You don't need to tell people what you do. Just do it well enough, long enough, and consistently enough. And eventually the world won't be able to ignore it. Your results will echo louder than words ever could. And when the results begin to speak, they won't just tell people what you do. They'll tell people who you are. They'll see the character you built when no one was watching. The habits you formed when there was no reward. The standards you lived by when there was no spotlight. That's what sets you apart. Not the titles, not the labels, not the show, but the quiet force behind the scenes. The consistency, the humility, the fire that never needed an audience. You must understand, discipline is louder than words. Focus is stronger than attention. And purpose will always outlast praise. You have to be willing to build alone. Not because you want to isolate yourself, but because the foundation of your life can't be built on opinions. It has to be built on truth. And your truth isn't something people hand to you. It's something you earn through action, through struggle, through hard choices that don't make sense to anyone else but you. You will face doubt. That's guaranteed. People will question your silence. They'll mistake it for weakness. They'll misjudge your stillness. But that's not your problem. Let them underestimate. Let them assume. Because when you finally arrive, you won't need to introduce yourself. Your work will walk into the room before you do. Your discipline will speak in your presence. Your life will tell the story. But you've got to be patient. And patience is hard when the world screams for speed. When everyone around you is rushing to be seen, to be heard, to be liked. Silence feels uncomfortable. It feels like you're falling behind. But that's the illusion. Because while they sprint on shallow ground, you're digging deep. And when the storm comes, they'll scatter. But you'll stand. That's why you protect your process. You don't owe anyone an update. You don't owe the world proof of progress every day. You just keep showing up. Keep doing the work. Keep sharpening your mind. That's how champions are made. In silence. In solitude. In the repetition of unseen effort. Success isn't a moment. It's not a post. It's not a trophy. It's who you become while no one is clapping. It's what you do when no one says thank you. It's how you behave when no one is watching. That's the real reward. Knowing that you stayed true to yourself, even when it would have been easier to chase attention. Because most people can't handle the quiet. They get anxious when there's no applause. They doubt themselves when no one's watching. They feel invisible when they're not being praised. But if you want to rise, you've got to let go of all that. You've got to be okay being unseen, unknown, unnoticed. Because in that space, something powerful happens. You stop performing and you start becoming. Becoming takes time. It takes stillness. It takes long stretches of effort with no fanfare. That's where your real edge is built. When you keep your mouth shut and your head down, your skills go up, your confidence goes up, your self-respect goes up. And one day when you finally speak, when you finally reveal what you've been building, it will land like thunder. Not because you were loud, but because you were real. People trust consistency more than charisma, and they follow those who live what they preach, not the ones who just talk about it. So don't try to sell your dreams. Don't try to convince anyone. Just live them. Let your lifestyle be the proof. Let your progress speak. That's where the credibility is. That's where the legacy is. You don't need more eyes on you. You need more hours of work in you. More commitment, more discipline, more late nights and early mornings, more intentional days, more deliberate steps forward. That's how you build something unshakable. That's how you earn the kind of respect that doesn't fade, the kind of respect that follows you even when you're silent. You see, when you stop telling people what you do and you start doing it with intensity and integrity, your whole energy changes. You walk with purpose. You speak with clarity. You carry yourself with strength because you've trained yourself to need nothing from the outside world. You're fueled from within. That's the goal, to be internally driven. To be so full of direction, so committed to your standard, that the world's noise doesn't move you. You keep your energy locked in. You protect your progress from outside interference. You move in silence, not because you're hiding, but because you're focused. Because you know that when the time is right, the results will be too loud to ignore. You don't have to announce your intentions. Just make your actions impossible to deny. That's the real game. Move smart, move quiet, move with purpose. The world doesn't need more talkers. It needs builders, finishers, quiet professionals who know how to show up, do the work, and keep moving forward. And when you do speak, when you finally share what you've built, it will have weight, because it came from depth, because it wasn't a performance, it was a process, a life you lived, step by step. And that's the kind of story that changes people. Not just what you did, but who you became by doing it. So stay patient, stay focused, stay quiet. Let the world underestimate you. Let them think you're not working. Let them think you're not serious. Then let your results introduce you. Let your presence announce you. Let your work echo your name long after you've left the room. You're not here to impress people. You're here to impress upon yourself the kind of discipline that lasts, the kind of vision that doesn't fade, the kind of character that can't be shaken. That's your mission. That's your edge. Never tell people what you do. Just do it. Better, stronger, louder without ever saying a word. And if they ask what you're up to, just smile. Not because you're hiding, but because the answer lives in your results, not in your replies. Most people talk themselves out of greatness by seeking too much validation too soon. They want confirmation before the seeds even break ground, but life doesn't work that way. You water your efforts in silence. You protect your dreams in silence. You grow in silence until it's impossible not to see what you've become. Your power is in your restraint. The way you say no to distractions. The way you say no to the need for approval. The way you say no to everything that doesn't align with who you're becoming. That's where strength is built. Not in talking about what you're going to do, but in doing it without needing permission. You've got to fall in love with being overlooked, with being doubted, with being ignored. Because those are the seasons that forge something deep within you. They build patience. They build focus. They build a mindset that doesn't crack under pressure. And when the lights finally find you, you won't flinch because you'll already be ready. Most people collapse under attention because they skipped the silence. They didn't build enough in the dark. They didn't sharpen their tools. They didn't face the discomfort of being unseen. But you're different. You're building for real. You're not in it for applause. You're in it for legacy. That means your actions are rooted. That means your path is unshakable. That means your silence is powerful. You're not silent because you're unsure. You're silent because you're certain. You're not invisible because you have nothing. You're invisible because you're working every day with precision, with consistency, with the kind of drive that doesn't need an audience, the kind of drive that doesn't fade when it's hard, that doesn't slow down when it's boring, that doesn't quit when no one's watching. Because you're not doing this for attention. You're doing this for transformation. And transformation is not loud. It's not flashy. It's not public. It's deep. It's personal. It's built in the quiet moments. The ones where it's just you, your purpose, and the choice to keep going. The people who make the most noise usually have the least to show. But the ones who stay silent, they're working. They're focused. They're locked in. And when their moment comes, the world listens. Not because they talked about it, but because they lived it. So here's the truth. If you're building something that matters, keep building. Don't explain. Don't defend. Don't argue. Just build. Build with purpose. Build with discipline. Build with a level of consistency that doesn't need to be posted. Because one day the work will show, and it will speak louder than you ever could. That's how real impact is made. Quietly, relentlessly, intentionally. Not by talking about it, but by becoming it. Never forget this. Silence is your shield. Focus is your fuel. Patience is your power. And action is your answer. There is no strength in needing to be seen, but there is massive strength in being able to go unseen and still perform at your best. That's what separates the ones who make it from the ones who don't. It's not talent. It's not luck. It's not even opportunity. It's the ability to move forward without noise, to execute without attention, to win without validation. Because when it's real, you don't need to prove it. You just keep doing it until it becomes undeniable. You want to build a life that speaks for itself, a routine that reflects your values, a standard that doesn't shift when no one's watching. You want to live in a way that when someone finally sees your results, they understand immediately what kind of person it took to get there. That doesn't come from talking. That comes from doing. Keep your head down. Stay hungry. Train your mind to thrive in silence, because in the end, it's not the loudest voice that wins. It's the most consistent work, the most unshakable discipline, the most refined focus, and all of that is built away from the crowd. So don't chase recognition. Don't chase approval. Don't chase applause. Chase excellence. Chase precision. Chase mastery. And let the world find out later, after you've already become the kind of person they can't ignore. Every day you wake up, remind yourself, you're not here to impress, you're here to progress. You're not here to explain, you're here to evolve. The ones who chase the spotlight often burn out under it, but the ones who build in the shadows, they last, they endure. They rise without noise and lead without speaking. You've got to train yourself to love the quiet grind. The hours where no one's texting to check on you. The moments where nobody's liking, sharing, or clapping, because those are the hours that count. That's when the real work is happening. That's where identity is formed, in those private, quiet hours, where the only person who knows what you're doing is you. That's where greatness begins. Never tell people what you do. Let them feel it when you walk into the room. Let them sense the discipline in your tone. Let them notice the focus in your eyes. Let them hear the weight of your silence. When you carry yourself like someone who doesn't need to prove a thing, people feel it. That presence is not built by words. It's built by repetition, by sacrifice, by effort that never needed applause. You don't have to convince anyone of your worth. Just keep showing up. Keep refining your craft. Keep cleaning up your flaws. Keep choosing growth even when it's uncomfortable, especially when it's uncomfortable. Because the pain of growth in silence is far better than the regret of staying average for applause. Be so disciplined that people assume you're up to something, because they don't see you wasting time. Be so focused that they wonder how you do it, because they never hear you talking about what you're working on. But the results keep showing up. That's the way. Quiet power. Silent momentum. Invisible grind. And here's the truth. Most won't say the people who talk the most about what they're doing are often trying to convince themselves, trying to feel better by sharing before the work is done. But you don't need that. You don't need premature validation. You don't need emotional comfort from people who don't understand your path. You need discipline. You need clarity. You need repetition. Day in, day out. No explanations. No distractions. Just you and the next step. You want to master your field. Stop broadcasting your ambition. Let the fire burn quietly. Don't let it leak through talk. Contain it. Feed it. Use it. Every ounce of that energy should be going toward execution, not announcement. That's how you move differently. That's how you separate yourself from the crowd. The truth is, there is no shortcut, no cheat code, no hack. There's only the path, and most of it will be walked alone, in silence, without applause, without feedback, without cheerleaders. Just a deep inner knowing that this is what you're supposed to be doing, and that's enough. Let your silence become your advantage. Let your quiet hours turn into your legacy. Let the lack of noise become the reason your results one day roar. There's something unshakable about someone who doesn't flinch when ignored, who doesn't slow down when unrecognized, who doesn't quit when unseen. That's who you want to be. Because when you no longer need to talk about your dreams, you're free. You're free to pursue them without judgment, free to fail without fear, free to grow without pressure. And that's where real momentum is built, quietly, day by day, with full commitment and zero noise. So remember this every time you're tempted to speak too soon. Your future deserves more than a sentence. It deserves your full focus, your complete dedication, your entire heart. Give it that. Don't cheapen it by shouting. Strength doesn't yell. It moves. It builds. It shows up again and again until it can't be denied. You want real power, real results, real respect. Then move in silence. Grind in private. Speak only when it's time to show what you've built. And when you do, speak with the weight of every quiet hour behind you. Speak with the presence of someone who didn't just talk, but lived it, earned it, became it. Let others chase attention. Let others talk about what they'll do. You've got work to finish. Let them wonder. Let them doubt. Let them question. You owe no one a thing. Your work will speak for you. Your silence will protect you. And your discipline will deliver you. Stay sharp. Stay grounded. Stay unavailable to everything that pulls you away from your mission. When people don't hear from you, they'll start making assumptions. Let them. You don't need to clarify, correct, or defend. When you know who you are, what you're building, and why it matters, silence becomes your armor. You no longer feel the itch to be seen or understood because you're too busy becoming undeniable. You want peace? Get comfortable not being noticed. You want power? Get comfortable being doubted. You want to rise? Get comfortable being alone. Most people aren't built for the silence because they can't sit with their own lack of results. They'd rather create noise than confront the truth. But you're different. You're ready to face it all. You're ready to work when no one's watching, improve when no one's clapping, and endure when no one understands. Because this isn't about fame. This isn't about followers. This is about you versus you. It's about seeing just how far you can go when you remove every excuse, every crutch, every need for recognition. You become dangerous when you no longer seek permission. You become unstoppable when you no longer need motivation. You just move. You just decide. And you don't stop. Everything changes when you stop announcing and start executing. When you stop forecasting and start producing. The moment you decide that your time, your energy, and your growth are too valuable to be wasted on trying to explain yourself to people who aren't even paying attention. That's the moment you start becoming someone that even they can't ignore. You want to stand out, then stop blending in with the noise. Be the quiet one. Be the one who disappears and comes back better. Be the one who skips the talk and brings the result. Be the one who's too busy doing the work to post about it. It's not about being mysterious. It's about being focused. It's about building something so real, so grounded, so unshakable, that when the results finally show up, Everyone around you realizes they never really knew who you were becoming. And by then, it's too late to doubt you. They'll see it in your posture, in your discipline, in your calm, in the way you carry yourself, like someone who's done the work, paid the price, and kept showing up. Not for likes, not for attention, for self-respect, for legacy, for freedom. Never tell people what you do. Show them who you are by what you keep doing. Day in, day out, when it's hard, when it's boring, when it's thankless. Show them by becoming someone so refined, so focused, so locked in, that your presence alone tells the story. You don't rise because you talked about it. You rise because you kept going when no one clapped. You rise because you didn't fold when it got heavy. You rise because you chose the grind over the glory. This is how it works. Quiet hours, long days, unseen sacrifices, relentless discipline. You don't get rewarded for what you say. You get rewarded for what you endure, what you sharpen, what you build, alone. And when the results show up, they show up with gravity, with weight, with a kind of presence that silence shaped and struggle refined. So keep it quiet, keep it steady, keep it going. Because when the time comes and they finally ask, how did you do it? You won't need to explain. You'll just smile. Because everything they need to know will already be right in front of them. You won't have to justify the years of silence. You won't have to unpack the late nights, the early mornings, the sacrifices that made no sense to anyone but you, because the evidence will be undeniable. Your life will speak the words you never said. Your actions will echo louder than anything you could have posted, tweeted, or proclaimed. You see, that's the reward of patience and privacy. You trade the quick hit of validation for the long burn of mastery. You give up the applause now so that you can command respect later. And it's not even about them. It's about you. Can you look at yourself and say, I gave it everything when no one was watching? That's what builds pride. That's what builds power. That's what turns an ordinary path into an extraordinary life. Not everyone will understand. Some will try to pull you out of your silence. They'll want updates. They'll ask, what are you working on? Don't take the bait. Stay grounded. Tell them you're focused. That's all. You don't owe them details. You don't owe them a show. You owe yourself the results. And you're not hiding. You're building. You're not being secretive. You're being strategic. There's a difference. One drains your energy for attention. The other stores it for impact. That's what you're doing. You're storing energy, sharpening your edge, getting better, not louder, wiser, not more visible, because those who talk early often fade quickly. But those who hold their ground, who build their foundation before announcing the house, they last. They move through life with a quiet confidence that doesn't need to shout. They don't seek praise. They earn it through persistence. Think about the people who inspired you the most. Were they loud? Were they always posting, always talking, always explaining? Or did they move differently? With purpose, with pies, with that unshakable calm that only comes from someone who's done the inner work. That's what you're building. That's what lasts. Every day that you choose to keep your head down and do the work, you're separating yourself. Every day that you keep moving while others are busy trying to be seen, you're earning something they'll never understand. Internal strength. And that strength becomes your compass, your fuel, your advantage. Because when you've gone long enough without needing applause, you become immune to distraction. When you've disciplined yourself to keep moving forward without needing confirmation, you become untouchable. You rise on your own terms, not theirs. And that's freedom. People ask, how do I become successful? The answer is simple but not easy. Stop telling people what you do. Start proving it. Silently, consistently, relentlessly. Put in the work. Track your growth. Ignore the noise. Stay humble. Stay obsessed. Stay in motion. They'll notice when it's time. They'll notice when it matters. But by then you won't care about being noticed. Because the goal was never attention. The goal was evolution. The goal was discipline. The goal was freedom. And the funny thing is, once you reach that point, once you've built it in silence, they'll look at you like you came out of nowhere. They'll call you lucky. They'll say it happened fast. But you'll know. You'll remember every quiet hour, every early morning, every decision to keep going when no one saw. That's what built you. So never feel small for keeping it to yourself. Never feel weak for moving in silence. You're just building something they won't understand until it's too real to deny. And when they finally ask how you did it, you still won't need to explain. Because by then the results will speak. The only language that matters. Unshakable proof. Unbreakable presence. Undeniable work. That's the final reward of staying quiet while you build. Your presence becomes proof. You don't walk in the room needing validation. You walk in and the room adjusts to your energy. You don't talk about what you're working on. They feel it. You don't announce your plans. They see the outcomes. And that's what makes it powerful. When you've spent years in the dark, sharpening yourself, the light doesn't blind you. You're not overwhelmed by success. You're not distracted by attention because you didn't do it for those things. You did it because you refused to stay average. You did it because you knew what you were capable of. You did it because comfort disgusted you. You chose growth over ease. You chose evolution over explanation. That's what matters. And now when the world finally sees you, they're not seeing the full story. They're seeing the harvest. They're seeing the end result of years spent doing what others weren't willing to do, working when it wasn't sexy, improving when it wasn't popular, showing up without fanfare. That's why it feels different, because it is. You didn't just build skills, you built strength. You didn't just gain wins, you earned wisdom. You didn't just stay consistent, you became unshakable. And none of it required announcements. Because true growth isn't loud. It's not about what you say, it's about what you carry. It's about the depth in your eyes, the steadiness in your tone, the way you show up with clarity, purpose, and power, all earned in the quiet. That's what separates you now. You've become someone who can't be shaken, someone who doesn't need to prove anything, because your life already proves it. And every time someone wonders how you did it, you'll know they're really asking, how did you keep going when no one saw? And your answer, even if you don't say it out loud, will be simple. I stopped talking. I started building. You became your own reason to stay disciplined. You stopped needing applause and learned to love the process. You let go of the desire to explain and leaned into the work. And now you're not just successful, you're solid. You're not just confident, you're certain. And that certainty didn't come from outside validation. It came from doing the work day after day, no matter how you felt, no matter who was watching. That's the kind of confidence no one can give you and no one can take away. So if you're still in the silence, still grinding, still building, good, stay there. You're in the most powerful place you'll ever be. It's where you shape your mind. It's where you find your edge. It's where you break free from the need to be understood and rise with the kind of strength that speaks for itself. Because one day, when the world finally sees what you've built, they'll be stunned. They'll wonder how it happened. And they'll never know that the real transformation happened in the quiet moments, when you decided that the work mattered more than the attention. So keep your vision close. Keep your progress private. Keep your standards high. Let the others chase the spotlight. Let them talk. Let them try to impress. You'll keep building. You'll keep improving. You'll keep becoming, silently, relentlessly, unapologetically. And one day, they won't be able to look away, because what you've built will be louder than anything you could have said.